Good afternoon, everyone. Forecasting La Nina, quite easy. It's a cycle. You just look for downtrending Atlantic Ocean temperatures, Pacific Ocean temperatures, and coming off of a solar peak. But if we take further look back into time in the last 2,000 years, we can discern where the mini ice ages occurred. They come with regularity. They've been marked out through time. Let's take a look into Theodore Landscheidt's work. The oscillation of the planetary patterns comes in a wave that can be measured. Take a look at the last three solar minimums here. The planetary geometry, how they're lined up in pairs, occurs with frequency, and when it does hit this exact pair, we go back into a grand solar minimum. You can forecast into the future where the Jupiter-Saturn cycle will be when they overlap. It's occurring right now. We're going to take a look at what the grand solar minimum conditions will be like around Australia and New Zealand in 15 different areas. Also, my world wheat production forecast, 127 million ton loss. Now, grand solar minimums have been categorized throughout time. We're going to look at this chart overlapping all the continents, and you'll see in the dotted lines where exactly the marked solar minimums occurred. They've been measured. We know what the intensity was. I'm going to add on top of that Theodore Landscheidt's work. Jupiter and Saturn creates a certain wave pattern that can be measured. You can forecast out in time. You can go back in time. We'll take a look back at 79 AD. The planetary geometry, Neptune, Jupiter, Uranus, and Saturn. When they come in this parallel pattern, you get a grand solar minimum. 1356, late 1400s, cooling. The last three solar minimums, and you can see the wave pattern looks similar. 1665, parallel. 1855 parallel, and this is where we come in. 2024 is when we're going to get to the maximum cooling here, which will last for about 6 years. We'll start warming again around 2030. When you overlap the Jupiter-Saturn cycles, you can see exactly where they're occurring, when they did occur, and it is occurring again right now, which brings us into the new grand solar minimum. Jeff Scott has taken over Theodore Landscheidt's work and running with the baton on this. He created most of this chart. I added in the decline on the Pacific decadal oscillation with a downward trend with the solar minimum downtrend as well, overlapping on all the cycles, and we can see it's happening again. Coming into a shorter duration of time here, the AMO, the PDO, and also declining regular 11-year solar cycle. We're hitting that right now, which will bring in a very cool La Nina. Atlantic Ocean temperatures generally modulate the northern hemisphere, and it's going into a cool trend right now too. So we have all these factors overlapping, showing cold. Jumping back in the last 1,000 years of history, these are the Chinese dynasties that collapsed due to lack of food production and drought. The emperors were overthrown. They lost their mandate from heaven, but you can see exactly when the temperature drops, there's effects on society with food production. Wherever you're looking, you can start to see the downtrend that matches up with the grand solar minimum. So we know there's cooling that occurs on the planet. With all that fact in mind, let's take a look at these specific 15 areas around Australia and New Zealand. Red means it's going to get colder, green means it's going to get drier, and yellow means it's going to get wetter. They're marked by number. Let's just jump through them here. Ningbing Range up in the Kimberley region had an increase in the monsoon until about 1200. After the medieval warming period, when we came into the grand solar minimum, it was substantially drier. The swamps around the tablelands show the same pattern, got drier after 1400. The Fournier Swamp in New Caledonia, wet phase up until about 1250, but then dry phase followed through the next grand solar minimum. Let's go into the central southern areas there, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Lake Caledonia, it's going to be drying out in that area. Blue Lake, the last high level water filling of the lake was around 1300 and decreased from that point when we went into the grand solar minimum. Now, Lake Surprise in Victoria showed wetter conditions during the Little Ice Age. And you'll see this model repeated again, major filling, but then it dried out as we entered the mini ice age. Now, Murray Canyon became cooler, and you can see the pattern there with the red arrows. Let's take a look down through Tasmania and New Zealand. Cold across there. Warm phase to about 1500. Little Ice Age, drop temperatures. Fiordland in New Zealand, same thing. It was warm up until about 1400 and then just dropped straight off with the mini ice age. Oroko Swamp, cold during the mini ice age. Nelson District, Little Ice Age cold. Waimoto District, North Island, mini Ice Age cold. Hawke's Bay, cold during the mini Ice Age. Jump up there to Kealia Pond on Maui. It's going to be drying out in Hawaii. Australia is going to have flooding and snow up until about 2018 in New South Wales. But then when we get to the mini Ice Age, the coldest temperatures are going to occur, and then everything will be in play where it either gets colder, wetter, drier. Now with this forecast here in the world wheat production that I put together, everything from 45 north is going to go offline. The changes from last year anyway, you can see the green, almost all of those have declined. But when we reach 2021, 2022, we're looking at about 1/3 of the world's wheat production offline, which is 127 million tons. Now you can only ask yourself, what is this going to do on price drive for wheat itself? But when people start to switch crops, how's that going to drive prices on other agricultural commodities? Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. These cycles can be predicted where they're going to occur again, and I just don't know why in the world's media we're not talking about it right now. If you like the kind of research I'm putting out, jump over to Patreon. You can support me on my other channel over there.